everyone, and welcome to the 73rd episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Last month, I made a video ranking the 20 best hood classic movies. It was a solid list, and people seem to like that video. I'll link it down below if you want to check it out. While doing research for that video, I watched a bunch of hood classic movies. Most of them I had seen before, some I saw a bunch of times, but I wanted to talk about one of the films on that list and highlight the good, the bad, and the ugly of this film. Today we're going to be talking about the Hughes brothers' directorial debut, Menace II Society. This film was released in 1993 and stars Tyrone Turner, Lorenz Tate, and Jada Pinkett Smith. The impressive thing is the Hughes brothers were only freaking 21 when they made this movie. That is insane, because this movie gives you a visceral feeling as it creeps through your mind and body. An hour and a half of debauchery, pure insanity, and the most unsettling part of this is this could absolutely have went down 100% the way this movie does back in the 90s. This film is a reflection of real events that occurred in these neighborhoods every day. The result of drugs, gang violence, and the lack of resources is displayed all over this film and shows you how real people did and still do live. If you've never lived in or spent significant time in neighborhoods like these, you might not even believe what you see in this movie. But trust me, it's real, it's authentic, and this film was written from a real place. I won't be going over this film point by point, but I will be highlighting some of the character traits of our lead and explain how the environment has shaped some of these. So there will be spoilers, and yes, I will likely be spoiling the ending. Okay, we follow the homie Kane, a young guy who just graduated high school and has no idea what to do next. It's a miracle this man even graduated, but I'm guessing it's a result of his very religious grandparents he lives with. I mean, the film itself even makes kind of a big deal he graduated. Whereas in more thriving neighborhoods, graduating high school is expected for most of the population. Although he says he barely went to school, he still went enough and worked hard enough to graduate. He stuck to it when he didn't want to. They are showing us maybe he does want to make something of himself one day. It's a shame that so many young men like Kane didn't graduate high school, because lots of them were smart like Kane and had plenty of potential to make something of themselves. Kane was quite intelligent, and it comes out in subtle ways throughout the film. We are in LA, early 90s. Racial tensions are at an all-time high, with the Rodney King beating still fresh in people's head and police brutality in urban neighborhoods going crazy. Kane is trying to navigate as a young black teen, trying to figure out his place in the world. He mentions that no matter where he goes, he'll still be black, meaning that no matter what, in his mind, his skin color will always hold him back, thus giving him an excuse to keep living the way he is. It's a twisted mentality that being stuck in a certain kind of environment will poison one's thinking, a mentality that a lot of people can't get out of. So Kane's upbringing and the treatment of the people he sees that look like him have put him in one of the most negative states of thought that one can be in. So to understand Kane, we must discuss a little bit about his background. Kane's father is a drug dealer and his mother is a heroin addict. We get one of my favorite hood party scenes where we are introduced to a young Kane who has a very curious mind. His father is played brilliantly by Sam Jackson, and we see him playing the cards with his homies, getting faded and gambling. Kane's mother is getting very impatient as she is ready to get her next fix. The party is rocking, and we get a nice vibe in the crib with the red and blue lights and the oldies playing. Kane sneaks out of his room, goes to the porch, and is chilling with some older guys, one named Purnell. Purnell shows Kane how to use a revolver and gives him a sip of a 40. He doesn't like it, but he's, like 7. The party goes on and Kane's father gets into a dispute with the man over some money he owes him. His father shoots this man right in front of him as his mother is high on drugs, and everyone is really a little bit numb to this. I mean, seeing your parents like this at a single-digit age would affect anyone, and probably not in a good way. Kane says this isn't the last time he saw his father kill someone. So this was normalized behavior. We mimic our folks, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Kane's father was murdered, and his mother died from drugs, so his grandparents took him in, and let me say, this was probably the best thing to happen to him. I think this shows us we can be greater than our parents if we have the right influence around us. But Cain was pretty far gone, and his grandparents, although a positive, still couldn't get through to him. Cain is now a drug dealer himself. His father taught him how to cook and cut crack at a young age. Drug dealing is all he knows. We get a fun little scene with Dope Man Remix playing by NWA, and he shows us how to cook up the crack. He isn't a 9 to 5 type of guy, he says. He likes big dollars. Another thing normalized by his parents. And all his friends are drug dealers with the exception of Sharif and Stacy. O-Dog and A-Wax are some ruthless dudes, and Cain grows more and more like them as the film goes on. We must take a second to talk about O-Dog while we're on the subject of his friends. O-Dog, played by Lorenz Tate, is one of the most ruthless yet likable villains of all time. In the opening scene, we see O-Dog murder two people in a store and rob them. Now, he was slightly provoked, but it definitely was no reason to murder these people. O-Dog has zero conscience or remorse. He lives day to day and blazes a trail like a modern day hood cowboy. Cain doesn't necessarily keep the best company, and they commit a variety of crimes, and ultimately, the company you keep can be your downfall. The more he hangs with these guys, the darker the road Cain starts to take. For example, early on in the film, Cain is actually quite prideful of the fact that he hasn't murdered anyone. But that does change. Cain is at a party with the homies having a good time, not bothering a soul. His cousin Harold is there, who is also a drug dealer. He's got a nice whip, jewelry, and money. Cain and Harold decide to take a trip to Jack in the Box to get something to eat, and Harold drives his car. While at a red light, they are rolled on by some dudes, and they kill Harold and shoot Cain all over the vehicle. Cain survives, and O-Dog and Wax convince Cain that they need to retaliate for Harold's death. Which, I mean, I can fully understand that. They blew his top off over a car, killing someone who looks like them for a material item that doesn't matter. But the problem with retaliation is the cycle continues. Brothers killing brothers, mothers losing sons, children losing fathers, and the urban community dying little by little. Drugs, robbery, and murder killed these communities. Crack is single-handedly one of the worst things to happen to the urban community, and the film was made and took place right in the heart of this epidemic. And we see that in this movie in some sad ways. Like the dude who had the cheeseburgers. I mean, just look at the dude. He looked like a freaking zombie. After Cain kills these guys, he realizes he didn't feel anything and that he can kill again if he needed to. After this, Cain goes on a little bit of a crime spree. He goes to jail for stealing a black Nissan Maxima. There's a funny scene where he robs a dude for his Dayton's at a drive-thru of a fast food joint. Now, I just want to know how the hell he get the rims off so quick. Whatever. We see Cain beat the living shit out of this dude because he fucked his cousin and she claims she's pregnant by him. He pistol whips Chauncey for filling up on Ronnie, his sort of girlfriend's booty. I mean, this hour and a half movie rolls like a horror film. We just see Cain commit crime after crime, making more and more enemies. Speaking of Cain's girlfriend, he is seeing Ronnie, played by Jada Pinkett Smith. Now, Ronnie is the ex-girlfriend of Purnell, the guy who was letting him drink and showing him how to use the revolver when he was a kid. Ronnie and Purnell have a son named Anthony. He's like, I don't know, 5 or 6. Now, Purnell is in jail on life without parole. Now, Cain does try and resist Ronnie out of respect for Purnell, but Purnell grants him his blessing to date Ronnie and help with his child. Cain sneaks Ronnie drug money that she will not accept. She isn't impressed by that life. In fact, she despises it, trying to steer her son away from it. But he idolizes Cain, and he is not the best influence. In a reenactment, he shows Anthony how to use his gun just like Purnell shows him when he was a kid. Ronnie freaks out, of course, and for good reason. She wants the exact opposite of the life for her son. So much so that Ronnie finds a job in Atlanta and urges Cain to move with her, but he's hesitant because all he knows is LA. Stacy and Sharif are moving to Kansas so Stacy can play football, and they even offer to let Cain move with them. All these people see the potential in Cain, but he does not see it in himself, which is so common in life in these situations. There's so much push and pull in this young man's life. His criminal friends wanting him there, his straight friends wanting him to leave. Well, in the long run, Cain fell in love with Ronnie, and he decides to move to Atlanta, and they live happily ever after. That would have been nice, but this is a gritty horror hood film, and things don't always end pretty. Well, they usually don't. Cain does actually decide to move with Ronnie. Well, on movie day, of course, the guy he beat for knocking up his cousin, which he likely actually didn't do, decides to pull up on him in a drive-by shooting, and they kill Sharif and Kane. But Kane does risk his life to save Anthony, who was riding his big wheel outside at the time. Kane got Swiss cheese, man. He has so many holes in him. He had no shot at making it. Right before he was about to get out, he gets murdered. In life, though, our actions do have consequences. Kane, in one summer, committed a bunch of crimes and got away with a lot of stuff. Even though what he died for was stupid, he still did a lot of other things. He truly was a menace to society, and you can't go around doing the things that Kane did without someone coming to get you at some point. Menace to Society is one of the most entertaining yet sad films you could ever see. It's almost like a hood slasher film. So much stuff happens in this short runtime. There really isn't a minute to be bored. Although a lot of things I spoke of in this review are sad, this movie is still funny and is endlessly rewatchable. I first saw this movie when I was 5 years old, and it's been one of my favorites ever since. It's well acted, written, and directed. It's mind blowing this was a feature debut for these young directors. The talent that they had so young is incredible. It's a dark coming of age story, but one everyone should see for a magnitude of reasons. A reflection of one's own upbringing or a glimpse into a life that you may know nothing about. Either way, it's a wild ride that everyone should take. If you haven't seen this, please go and watch this movie. I'm going to give Menace to Society a 9.2 out of 10. Guys, thanks so much for watching my Menace to Society review. Let me know if there's a film or topic you'd like me to review. I got a podcast with my buddy, The Cutting Room Floor. I'll link that below for more movie content. Hit me on Letterboxd, Ralph Vader. I'll link that below as well. I will be back next week. And don't forget the popcorn.